I'm Jamie, and these are my models: a bow and arrow and a spear. My modern day technology is a gun, because I chose a gun because I like the first part was about protection and safety, so I like to choose that. The spear works by charging at the enemy or staying back in the battalion with the shield. If you usually stay back in the battalion, your spear is usually much longer. For the arrow, you just pull back the rubber band, then you aim at the target, and you just fire. So the a bow and arrow is nobody really knows who invented it, but researchers think that the Romans invented it. How the assault rifle was developed was it started by a bow and arrow, to a crossbow and an arm, to a crossbow modeled as a gun. And then after the Chinese invented the gunpowder, the rifles were invented. The rifles took one bullet at a time, and it took too long to reload. So they made semi-automatic weapons that they could just hold the trigger. Uh, the, so that was how the assault rifle was built, and then so the spear was first. There are two types of spears. The first spear was just a normal spear, for attacking at the enemy. The other spear was usually for people or archeries to stay on a castle to throw the spear at the enemy. That type of spear is called a javelin. Most Egyptians used it, and they also invented it. Any questions? Miss Isaac?
So what was the function of all of these things?
I picked the bow and arrow because it was a far-range weapon, like the assault rifle. So then all of these are for protection and warfare.
Were they ever used for hunting?
Oh yeah. The spear wasn't used for hunting because if the animals would see them, they would just run away, and it'd be too hard to catch up. So they used it bow and arrow and rifles. Karen?
Which weapon would you use for war? The spear or the bow and arrow?
I would use a bow and arrow because I would usually take cover, so there would be a lower percentage of me dying. Moana?
How is it different? Like the spears? I thought there was two kind of spears. How is it different?
This one is this spear is longer than the javelin is shorter, because the javelin only needs a handle for throwing at the enemy. Sonia?
Which one was harder to make, the spear or the bow and arrow?
Bow and arrow. Alyssa?
Did the person who used the spear washed away the blood when they killed the animal?
If they were a high rank, they would always have like a handkerchief in their pocket, and then if they were a low rank, usually they would be in first battling, so they would just crash, and they might not be able to wash it. Colin?
Ancient times, did they use a stone as the typical spear?
If the soldiers were low ranked or middle class, they would use rock, and then if they were like generals and higher ranks, then they would have metal. Yeah.
What materials did you use to make weapons?
I used wire, a rock, super glue because the tip of the rock broke, stick, nails, and rubber bands. Alyssa?
Who influenced the spear?
I kind of thought about making the spear because at the Museum of Technology I saw a spear, and then they were hunting fish.
Who influenced?
To make this?
No, who influenced the spear?
For me to make?
No, to make the current.
The Romans knew that when they were having war, the enemy and the Romans would crash together. So then, in order for them to have like a lead to kill them, the spear would be much longer. So then they could just reach out, and then the other enemy soldiers would have swords, so they couldn't reach them. It's turn.
How long was the real spear in ancient times?
It depends what type.
If it was one of the Roman ones that you were just talking
Oh,
about, do you know how long
It'd be till here to about here. John?
Do all spears use sticks and logs and wire?
In the olden time they didn't have wire that bended, so they used strings, and then the rock. Well, they had with the swords and things they didn't need. They would just melt that, and then they would just cool it off. Oh, Mr. Horsfield.
Coming, John. Do we know what civilization invented the bow and arrow and spears, or was it just worldwide?
Worldwide.
Yeah.
Anything.
Last Friday, you put the sticks into like a bucket of water. What was that supposed to do?
That would make the stick softer, so it would be easier to bend the sticks or to make it easier to hammer the nails in it. So,
Did the spears affect the other common people? Like, did it like hurt other people that was common and didn't do nothing?
they would use it's the Romans conquered people, so then they would just get ready, and then the Romans usually mostly killed the women and children. So it sometimes does affect innocent people.